Hi, everyone. I think we're live now. I'd like to welcome everyone to the Ethereum 2 Medalla testnet launch. Um, this has been a work in progress for many years, about 5 years since the launch of Ethereum. And what we're going to do today is spend about an hour looking at what went into this, the history of it for about 30 minutes. We'll build up to the actual ETH2 Phase 0 testnet launch, which will occur in about 28 minutes. And after the launch of the testnet, we'll monitor metrics to see how well things are going, and hopefully just celebrate a successful Ethereum 2 Phase 0 Beacon Chain testnet launch. The big word of the today is Medalla. That's Medalla. And so let's get going. Before we get into this call, I'd like to tell you how to find us and how to join our community. Many of us live at reddit.com/r/ethstaker. That is a great place to get support, to talk about your staking build, to find out some high-level information about what staking really is. There are a lot of places to get deeper into the research, but a good place to get started is reddit.com/r/ethstaker. A lot of us also spend a lot of time on ETH Finance. We're kind of a cousin or sister Reddit to ETH Finance. And if you want to find us on Twitter, you can find us at ETH2SCC. That's the Ethereum 2 Stakers community call. This is part of our community call series, and something we're really excited to share with the community. There are so many people who put blood, sweat, and tears into making Ethereum 2 real, starting with the Ethereum 2 researchers, the Ethereum 2 implementers call, and all the client teams. Without hundreds of thousands of hours of work by so many people, this would have never happened. Let me give you our brief agenda today. Something we're really excited. Patricio is going to talk to us about the POAP, the launch attendance POAP. There is a POAP token available for this call. To get that POAP, you need to join our Discord, or just come to our Discord and find the POAP channel. There you can post your name. Just make a comment, and Patricio will respond to you with a link to claim your POAP. You don't have to post your Ethereum address, just post a comment, receive that link, and go claim it. There are also 5 additional POAPs available for each of the client teams. We're talking about Prism, Lighthouse, Teku, Nimbus, and Lodestar, that you'll be able to claim by running those clients and using a specially designed graffiti in your client to indicate that you have actually run that client and you're ready to receive the POAP. We're going to hear from Afri, who is the testnet manager. Afri has set up, I guess, 4 major testnets. I'm not going to get them right, but they're Witty, Slushy, Altona, Sleazy, Altona, and now Medalla. Then we're going to hear from Danny Ryan. He's going to talk about key metrics and what we're looking for launch. And that's going to lead us up to the launch. After the launch, we're going to just monitor key metrics, talk about the network, and chatter for a while. So with that, let me introduce Patricio Werthalter. Patricio is the brains behind POAP, which anyone who knows about it is obsessed with it. Like, I heard about it and I was like, I don't need some more crap. POAP is it's kind of the badge of honor for participating in Ethereum events. If you don't have any yet, today is the day for you to pop into that EthStaker Discord chat in the POAP room, get your POAP. It'll come to your Ethereum address, and you'll have that badge of honor that says that you participated in this call. So, Patricio, tell us what you got.
Hello, everyone. Good morning. So we have very exciting plans for people that hold this POAP. So make sure you get it. You don't have to worry about minting fees because we acknowledge that gas prices are quite high for minting a POAP today. In US dollars, it may cost between $2 to $4, and some people can't afford it. So when you get the redemption link, just make sure that you input your address or ENS, ideally your ENS, and whenever we launch our second layer solution, we will make sure that all the people that claim the token get it on the second layer, which is going to be very cheap. So no rush or anything to worry about that much. Anyways, if you want to have it on mainnet, you can still do it the same way you always did. This is assuming all people know POAP. If you don't know POAP by this time, just you better go to our website, poap.xyz. As Superfish explains, there are two different POAPs this time. The first one, which is just being part of this call, which you get on the It's Taker Discord on the POAP channel. And then there's the other POAP, which is like the hard one, the one that matters, which is the one you get when you run a node. If you're running a validator for the Medalla testnet, you just likely put a ETH1 address on the graffiti field, like we are seeing on the screen. Thank you very much, whoever's doing the screen sharing. And when when you added your ETH1 address on the graffiti field, that's going to be on a Merkle tree that in the future, once we reach some stability, will allow you to redeem your actual proof of validating on the testnet. So that's it for me. I think we can go back to you, Superfish.
All right, thanks, Patricio. Um, I cannot, I cannot overestimate or overstate how cool it is to hold these POAPs. So uh, I know that I'm going to do everything that I can to get all of these clients running. I haven't been successful yet. I've been a little busy, but I'll spend every moment getting these to work. We might even see if we can bug. Well, I'll bring that up later. It would be neat to invite more participation into those client POAPs, but we'll see if we can extend that deadline maybe to work out. So next up is Afri Shodan. Afri is the Ethereum 2 testnet manager. He has, I'll let him speak for himself, but he's done a wonderful job of managing, I believe it's three developer testnets, and finally the Medalla public testnet. In terms of context, this is something that we've been working, that the Ethereum Foundation, Ethereum developers in general have been working toward for about 2 years. That's just implementation, and for several years before that in just research. So Afri is a critical part of this development, and I'm glad to have him on board.
Thank you for the intro. I was actually going to give a presentation soon on testnets, but given the chance today that we have still 20 minutes left for the Medalla testnet launch, I can give a quickly overview of what we have done in the past and why this is such a critical milestone for Ethereum 2 development. I think one of the most important milestones in Ethereum 2 development was when I believe Vitalik and Justin came up with the design of the beacon chain in 2018. And since we have Ethereum 2 researchers have worked towards some specifications that at some point can be implemented in different clients, and then there were many attempts to implement it. Some died along the way, and some new came and joined later. And eventually, over the course of the last 2 years, there was some need to get towards a point where all these clients start working together for the reasons of having the best possible client diversity on mainnet later. And in September last year, there was this interop login where the teams for the first time physically met in one location and tried to figure out how to actually wire these clients together. They focused more on networking. Later in 2019, there were these simulations where you have this multi-net simulations where you can just run a script that tries to fetch all the latest code of the clients to run automated setups with a certain predefined amount of validators and so on. But all that was still very far away from where we are today. And when I investigated, I had some free time and then investigated how I could contribute to Ethereum 2. And I figured out I want to help with testnet, and I reached out to Danny, and he was like, "Yeah, it's a good timing." And so all these client teams had their own public testnets or semi-public testnets. I think Prism and Lighthouse were the first with testnets. Prism was more, Prismatic Labs was more public about their launches. They had the Sapphire, the Topaz, and the Onyx testnet with a lot of public validators from the community. But all these testnets had more the scope of this single client, like testing. And eventually, when I joined the efforts of multi-client testing in around March this year, I tried to bootstrap testnets that are launched not by one client, but by multiple clients. And the first thing I did was taking a Lighthouse and a Tico node back then, and I just managed to have them both validating on the same network. And it was like a small DevNet. Not many people knew about it apart from developers, but it was quite a nice success. And with the progress of the specification and the updates of the specification to new versions with new improvements, I kept adding clients, and I had a Prism and Lighthouse testnet, the Schlesi testnet in April. Then we had the Witty testnet, which added Teku at Genesis. So we had 3 clients at Genesis. In June, we had the Witty testnet, which has had Nimbus validators in Genesis. That was also really exciting. And then we noticed at this point with the Altona testnet that we might be stable enough to have a go at a public community-run testnet. And this is what's happening today. We are launching the Medalla testnet that not only features 5 clients in Genesis, as far as I know, with Lighthouse, Prism, Teku, Nimbus, and Lodestar, but also is entirely run by the community, apart from some validators that are provided by the client teams or the Ethereum Foundation and myself and some other people. But the majority of validators will be provided by the Ethereum community. And this is a milestone we have been working towards for a very long time. And I'm really happy that this is happening in 15 minutes and 6 seconds.
Awesome.
I'm looking forward.
Great. Thank you so much, Offrey. Gosh, it's so exciting. We are just 14 minutes away. It's so impressive to see so many moving parts coming together into several developer testnets and finally into the final, hopefully the final. Obviously there may be issues that cause restart, but the public multi-client testnet. The next thing we're going to move into is the individual client POAPs. Now, there's a little disambiguation. There's a POAP for this call, but the real badge of honor is successfully running each of the 5 individual Genesis testnet clients. Again, that's Prism, Lighthouse, Nimbus, Teku, and Lodestar. And even right now, we have some getting up to speed for I think there are a few people who have Lodestar, but I haven't gotten Lodestar up yet. And so to talk about how to claim the individual client POAPs, we have Nolan, who is my wingman. You know him on Reddit as Lamboshi Nakagini. Did I say that right? I just call him Nolan.
Nolan.
So tell us what we got, man.
So we really encourage everybody to try out all the different clients. I don't think any of them are more difficult to install than any other. And a healthy distribution of the different types of nodes is very healthy for the network. So we really do encourage you guys to try them all out. And we thought this would be a good way to incentivize everyone to do that. So all you got to do is set up your nodes, set up your validators, go to beacon chain/POAP, enter in your ETH1 address, and it'll give you a little string, which I'll show you here. So punch in your ETH address here, your ETH1 address, and that'll give you this string here. So pull out the one for the relevant client that you're using. And then I launch my validator with a script, but to do is just put -- graffiti and that string that'll record your ETH1 address onto the beacon chain, and we can pull that off onto the ETH1 chain, and you can claim your token. So it's really fun, guys. I encourage you to try it out, and it's a good challenge, and you can show how much cooler you are than all your other friends that don't have those badges. So yeah, POAP, we love it. The most fun dApp on Ethereum.
Awesome. Thank you, Nolan. I want to talk about how so many of us got into this place, into dealing with the Ethereum 2 clients. And I would like to use that opportunity to encourage you, if you're watching, make a contribution to the Ethereum ecosystem. So I got started just creating some videos. And while I created some how-to videos, I made some friendships along the way. And it has really, it's really been a great opportunity to participate in the ETH2 ecosystem rather than just being an observer. So if you're an observer right now, I would love for you to today just create a screencast of installing one of the clients, or setting up Grafana, or any of the hundreds of little pieces. People love video content, and that video content is so instructional, and it onboards more and more people. So if you're looking for a way to become involved, just stick your toe in the water, create a little bit of content, and share it. It'll enrich the entire ecosystem. And that's sort of the way to get going. Now, Danny Ryan is, I guess, the big organizer behind the Ethereum 2 implementation. And he's a great guy, fantastic, easy to talk to. I'm proud to have him on the call. Danny, do you want to get us started with some launch prep, and we'll get going from there?
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I mean, I do some of the hard work, but like client teams, research, like there's so many people doing a lot, like incredible hard work on this stuff every day. I really don't need any credit. Cool. I don't have much to say. ETH2 is kind of like the next step in the evolution of Ethereum to kind of reach the original promise of being a secure, decentralized, yet scalable platform for global decentralized computation and the sort. And ETH2 phase 0 is the laying down the backbone of that, with the launch of the Beacon chain. I'm going to give, actually, can I share my, well, I don't know. Oh, Nolan, can you pull up those health metrics on your screen?
Whereabouts?
I just dropped a link. I dropped a link in there.
Okay, one sec.
I just want to give some context on the things that we, I guess, what the Beacon chain does, and the things that we're looking for today as kind of like the health metrics, examining the health of the Beacon chain and knowing if this was immediately a success, or if there's some like instabilities, or if there's some issues. And so the Beacon chain primarily is concerned with the organization of many validators in this consensus. Validators, instead of miners in proof of work, are those that build and create a proof of stake chain, the Beacon chain. And what they do is they build blocks, and then they all come in and attest to blocks. So someone builds a block, they're assigned to build a block. Many people are then assigned to vote on the block and say, I think this is the head, I see this as the head. And they send these little messages around in the network. These little messages, called attestations, are included in blocks and help kind of finalize and come to firm agreement on what the chain is. And so what we're watching for and what a healthy chain does is blocks are built, blocks are voted on, blocks are then justified, and then blocks are finalized. The justification and finality, that's what we call Casper. It's this consensus algorithm in which validators are constantly taking part in, constantly signaling support for chains and coming to consensus on things. Proof of stake, as opposed to proof of work, actually has this notion of finality, this notion of something that is permanently embedded in the chain. Like, this block is always in the chain. I can make that claim. I can make that a crypto-economic claim that this block will always be in the chain based on the activity of the validators. And so sequentially we see blocks are built, then blocks are justified, and then blocks are finalized. And so these are the key things that we're watching for as we move into launch. So in pre-Genesis, I have a few notes here on the things that I and other teams have been looking for. Pre-Genesis, once enough validators once enough deposits have been made into the deposit contract, the clients figure out the Genesis root, the Genesis state, the Genesis block, and the time. And so the first thing that we did was, okay, do all the clients agree on this? And they did. Success. And then once we see the Genesis information happen, then clients begin to peer and begin to form a mesh for the P2P network. And what we did over the weekend was to ensure that this mesh began to be built and looked stable. Now, if you go and look at ETH2 stats, you can see that people have, any clients, nodes have anywhere between 40 and 80 peers, beginning to look like a healthy P2P mesh. So that's a good signal. And so now we're in that waiting phase, 6 minutes till launch, in which the Genesis time, which was set a few days ago, that is when the Genesis block comes into fruition. The Genesis block is a known block for everyone. And then after the Genesis block, proposers are selected to actually build upon this chain. And so at the Genesis epoch, the first thing that we're looking for is, okay, did we get a new block? Did we get a block after the Genesis block? Ideally, we see this block within 1, maybe 2 slots. Slot is every 12 seconds. That's kind of the time at which things happen. And so we're looking for a Genesis block. We're looking for the Genesis block. We're looking for some votes on that. And we're looking for a new block to come in. Really, we want to see it in the first 1 or 2 slots. That's good. Concerning would be if we saw it in the first 3 to 8 slots. That might signal that some validators are having connectivity issues, or there's not a lot of like a bunch of the network maybe didn't come online, or maybe there's like connectivity issues between different validator types. And then bad, if we hadn't seen a block in the first 8 slots, that means like 25% of an epoch has passed, which signals like the network might be fragmented, or more than 25% of validators didn't come online. So that would be the concerning scenario. And then at the end of the epoch, which is 32 slots, that's when we'll first get a good signal on what was the validator vote participation, these attestation votes that I was talking about. Really, like a good metric, I think, for this testnet would be greater than 90%. Concerning but okay would be in the 66 to 90% range. 66, you need 66.6%, 2/3 of the validators for finality. So like this is still okay in that range. And then if we saw below 66% in the first epoch, we'd be concerned. We'd be scrambling. We're going to be looking and try to figure out what's going on. That might signal that a client, one of the key clients is not connected to the others. So then moving into epoch 1, we're going to be just monitoring. We want to see some regular blocks, regular attestations. And at the end of epoch 1, we'll again be looking at this vote percentage. We really want to see that greater than 90%. That would be like smooth sailing. The finality information, the justification and finality, like I discussed before, can't happen in the 0th, in the Genesis epoch, and in the first epoch. So nothing's going to change with finality. But at epoch 2, we're going to be again monitoring similar stuff. Each epoch 6.4 minutes, by the way. But epoch 2, we're going to be monitoring the similar stuff. But at the end, if we have this good vote participation, then we can see epoch 2 get justified, ideally. If epoch 1 is justified and not 2, then that might signal like some instabilities. And then if we have no justification, that's a red flag. So epoch 3, similarly, this is the first time that something can become finalized. So at the end of epoch 3, so that's 4 epochs in, so 6.4 times 4 epochs, that many minutes. That's when ideally 3 can become justified, 2 can become finalized. If we reach that point, then like we've had a good launch. Nothing. 15 slots to go. Yes, Age. Sorry, nothing. Everything went according to plan. It could be concerning if we have some combination of justifications of these epochs that didn't lead to finality. The sequential justification really leads to finality. That would mean that there's intermittent connectivity issues, and we haven't seen any justification since Genesis. And like we're having some issues, and client teams are scrambling, and we're debugging. And I'll probably get off this call and we'll fix it. But ideally, things are going to be smooth sailing. And I just wanted to give you like an idea of what we're looking for over the next about 30 minutes. And we'll be looking at ETH2 stats. We'll be looking at block explorers. We'll be running some local metrics. And each of these clients have local HTTP endpoints in which we'll be pulling down relevant metrics dynamically. If you have access to this document, I threw up some of the key endpoints for the clients that I'm looking at to pull down some of the information I talked about, like how to get peer count, how to look at the head, global votes, that kind of stuff. If you're interested, HTTP port, holy shit, that's really hard to say. HTTP port for Prism is 3500. I'm changing that in the document right now. I'm sorry if I confuse anybody. But we have a couple minutes to launch. That's all I wanted to say. I'm really excited. Congratulations to the incredible hard work of all these teams. And thank you, ETHStaker, and all you guys for putting this together, and excited for these co-ops too.
It looks like we have about 67 seconds before launch. Thank you, Danny. That was really exciting. We're going to get to see all of those metrics in action. And so with a minute left, I think it's time to stare intently at numbers. And we'll just remain quiet and open this up for anyone who wants to chime in.
Fair warning, my Grafana dashboard might break. I might have some port overlap issues, but we can look at the clients themselves. So hopefully we'll be okay.
Everybody get ready to screenshot. I got about 10 seconds, 17, 16 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 6, 5. Losing some peers, gaining some peers. 3, 2, 1. And we're live. Genesis time reached.
I made an attestation.
Yes!
So the first attestations can happen now, and then the first block will be at slot 1, so 12 seconds in.
Yeah, we're making attestations too.
Yep, we've got attestations and aggregates going out from the turkey nodes.
I see a block.
First block.
We have a block.
We got a slot 1 block.
Hell yeah.
Woo!
My notes are attesting as well.
And we have an empty slot.
I'm going to propose slot 31 with one of my validators.
I think, at least for my experience, I was doing a lot of testing and probably claimed a lot of slots that are unused. Not a lot, but you know.
Okay, we have a block at slot 3.
Yes, and at 4.
So we missed slot 2. Okay, that's okay. That's a pretty good percentage.
Yeah, it's pretty nice.
Our nodes are agreeing with the blocks that are being produced.
Excellent. So if you're looking at my public health metrics, we have the first thing that we're looking at, we have a thumbs up. We got a decent amount of blocks in the first handful of slots. And now we're waiting till the end of epoch 0 to look at the vote percentage. Hopefully we'll see something over 90%.
I've already seen votes from About 2,500 validators.
First 2 POAPs have been claimed already.
We currently have over 1,700 viewers on YouTube.
Hello, YouTube. Hope y'all are enjoying this. I am.
It's going to be so many POAPs.
So you're looking at Lamboshi's 4 different clients running. You can see, different attestations are being submitted. Blocks are streaming in. It's good.
Hey Nolan, will you go through each of those 6 and just hit real quick what they're running?
Okay, so top left is Lighthouse. That's the node there, and to the right of that is the validator. Below that is Prism, and again the Prism validator. This guy up here is Nimbus, and they do validator and node all in one, and same for Teku. And unfortunately, I ran out of time setting up Lodestar, but we'll get it going probably today.
Proto, what are you looking at on your end?
Logs. And make sure all my nodes are running well. So I'm running all 5 different clients, 2 nodes each, 64 validators each. And it's just about to monitor. And I'm running metrics as well, and it's looking good so far.
Proto, I gave you screen share. I'm sorry you didn't have it before.
Oh, sure. I'll share my screen.
Meanwhile, I made a block. Slot 17 is mine.
Awesome.
Nice job, Albert.
I was number 1 on Altona, so standards are slipping.
Well, maybe we can game the randomness on mainnet. You can get number 1 again.
Yes.
These are Lighthouse metrics. So the summary of like what the stations look like. Everything is going up. Good so far. Few missed slots here, but not too many. And then I'm going to propose a block in slot 31 with one of my Prism validators. So I'm looking forward if that will be a miss slot or not. Let me see if I can find the logs. So these are logs. And this right here is prismatic. These were supposed to be the slot 31 will originate from. And so many metrics. There are 5 clients, and they're producing over like 1,000 different data points.
I think now is a good time to zoom out and see our overall progress. What we have right now is an apparently successful launch of the network. We'll be waiting for 2 epochs to conclude before we can actually get the metrics to know how successful we are. But so far, everything looks, I would not say perfect, it looks nominal. We have a few missed slots. Those are very expected. But things are looking really good so far.
We broke Beacon Chain, Bitfly's website, to monitor the Beacon Chain. So sorry, Peter.
I wore my T-shirt especially. There you go.
Yeah, we're aware. We're already on it. The POAP website also, like the Beacon Chain POAP site also broke. We didn't expect such a search, to be honest.
And so obviously, if you have a POAP link, you'll be able to claim this POAP anytime in the future. That's not, I don't believe they're set to expire. Are they, Patricio?
They don't expire.
Yeah. So Don't worry now. If you have the link, just hold on to it, and every
See anything interesting on those metrics, Proto?
Too many metrics. I'll go back to the summary. This is like the most important data, really. Like, do we miss slots? How many
looks like
validators are testing? That's it.
So we're
like
getting
Proto
close
got,
to the end.
Proto proposed block 31. I like that.
Very nice.
That tag. 17282 was the proposer.
Here.
So we're at the end of epoch. We finished epoch 0. So do any of the APIs allow for checking the participation starting at epoch 0? I know that we can look once epoch 1 passes.
I'm seeing 60% participation rate in the previous epoch, which is not great.
Low.
So
That's great.
hopefully that's wrong. I haven't paid much attention to it in epoch 0 before.
Yeah, I only saw about 10,000 validators in the previous epoch.
Okay. Red flag.
It looks like Lodestar's choking on gossip.
That's lots of stations. Lodestar's processing right there.
Oh, we have a Twitter poll from Vitalik. Epoch is pronounced epic or epoch? That's a good one. Wait, okay, Vitalik, how do you pronounce it?
Epoch.
Okay.
I pronounce it however Vitalik pronounces it.
Can anyone quickly see what percentage of the blocks in epoch 0 were not skipped? So if that looks to be the same as the attestation percentage, then I'm going to assume, yeah.
According to our website, epoch 0 has 57% participation rate.
I know, but in terms of attestations, what about in terms of blocks?
Okay.
I see 24 blocks.
Seems a little bit higher than the attestation participation rate.
Yeah, but it's close.
Yeah.
That could be just the randomness.
Participation rate in the epoch 1 that we're in at the moment is pretty much on track for what last epoch did as well. It's a little more erratic.
There's a decent chunk not online.
We're approaching slot 64 too, infamous slot 64.
That's where all of the consensus bugs happen.
I'm seeing a black box on your view, Proto. I don't know if you can refresh that screen, if everyone else is seeing it.
That may be indicative of having
Not
Zoom
sure.
chat over that.
Yeah, I'm running Linux. Maybe just like a visual problem. I'm still sharing my screen. I'll reshare. Can you see something now?
It's not fatal. It's just a obstruction.
If someone likes, they can share their screen.
Back to mine, I guess.
My Lighthouse node has a bunch of invalid attestations coming in.
Danny, will you explain? So I have
yeah, I mean, I'm just looking at these logs and seeing an invalid attestation coming in from the network, which implies that someone is signing a message that Lighthouse is not seeing as valid. And if, you know, if a client is, if like a particular client is signing invalid messages, then that could account for low participation rate, but I don't have much view into what's going on at this point.
That message isn't super clear either. That sometimes you can get that error when it's just rejecting things it's already seen. So I'm just gonna I'm getting that on my end and look into it a bit more.
I see.
So one of my Nimbus nodes is reporting attestations of the future. So there's some time discrepancy there. That might be it.
Right.
For Epoch 1, I'm seeing about 54% participation. I'm wondering if you guys are seeing the same.
I'm looking at 57 here.
Yeah, 57.
A 59.8 on our end.
Did anyone else see a duplicate block for slot 1? Might be bouncing around in gossip.
So as a high level interpretation of this participation rate, that isn't exactly what we expected it to be. Am I correct to understand that? So we expected 100% of people who submitted 32 ETH to validate, but it turns out Gurley is cheap. So many people would have submitted the deposit, but they're not actually running a validator to support that. But the network
that's definitely one potential scenario here, is that people just didn't come online. Another one, which I think the investigations right now are going to be, you know, is there a client type that is online that isn't being included or isn't making valid messages or something like that. My guess is that a bunch of people submit deposits and Monday night happened and they didn't quite get their validator running, and now their validator's not running.
So the network's response to this would be to leak those validators down to 16 Ethereum and then forcefully eject them. As that happens, those validators are no longer in the network and participation increases because the live validators are participating. And then we return to health. Is that
the longer that finality doesn't occur, the more that you lose for being offline. It accelerates. And if, for example, 50% of the network was offline, it would take approximately 3 weeks for enough to be leaked to get there, which is not a very ideal scenario. Obviously, in normal production, especially if there's real ETH securing these validators, the offline validators have a high incentive to get online quickly. So we don't really expect to have to get through that entire leak. In a testnet scenario, there's a chance that somebody just bombards with a bunch of deposits and never came online. But because it doesn't really matter. But hopefully people take this a little more seriously and figure out how to run their clients. But again, there could be underlying, you know, a deeper issue here. So what we're doing is we're investigating that.
So
I
I
mean,
think
maybe-
right, like if it actually is the case that basically 40% of depositors are offline, then I think we would basically have to wait until they leak 25% of their balances, right? Because if right now we have 60 online and 40 off, then if the 40 leak down to 30 becomes 60 out of 90 and then things starts finalizing again. In which case, the network would basically just not finalize for a few days, and those people would learn a lesson, or rather learn a test lesson, and we would just go from there.
So if someone has this available, I mean, I think one easy test would be to see if those missing validators are evenly distributed in the range, because many people have deposited large blocks, and if some of those blocks are completely missing, then that indicates it might be a client.
Or that
I don't
indicates
think
that
a
it might be.
client failure would imply even distribution, because like people that deposit a lot would also presumably be running the same clients on all of them, if they're lazy, which I think most people are so far.
Well, right. I would say a contiguous block would imply to me that somebody just didn't run their software, because
Yeah, if you look on Ethernodes, 70% is on Prism, and 30 is on Lighthouse. So
I think that crawler. Well, I'm not certain, because if you look at the self-reporting on E2 stats, the distribution is not that. Let's see.
It seems to disconnect nodes quite fast before people have been able to identify it. I've had a few people say they can't find Teku, but they keep getting our disconnected for too many peers custom disconnect code. So they're finding us, but not identifying us.
Interesting. Yeah, if you look at, I quickly scraped the data off of E2 stats this morning, and the self-reporting nodes, which is only representative of the people that actually run this, was 56% Prism self-reporting, 25% Lighthouse, 10% Teku, 6% Nimbus, 2.5% Lodestar. So I think that I think the crawler is missing some of the data.
yeah, that's probably right. Makes sense. Epoch 3 should be up soon, right?
Yep.
Yeah, it's just gone by, and participation steady at about 57% on my dashboard, 58%.
Is everyone that is running a particular validator type seeing blocks and attestations included? So I know that Ben created a Teku block. Ben, are you seeing attestations included?
Yeah, I believe so. So I'm checking on Beacon Chain, so to cross-reference in it, and basically that's reporting all my Teku validators showing up for duty, and that's getting info out of the blocks. So that looks good.
Right, and people running Prism, you're seeing blocks and attestations.
Yeah, mine is fine, but I have inclusion delays for some reason.
Okay. Lighthouse, you're seeing people running Lighthouse, you're seeing blocks and attestations included in the canonical chain.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, we're building a chain with other people, and we're not banning heaps of people and sending bad blocks. So I would assume we're on the canonical chain.
Lodestar, what are you seeing?
So I think our nodes went down. I'm trying to reboot them right now. But so for our part, I think that 2% is not helping.
Gotcha.
What about slot 67? It was orphaned by Nimbus.
Yes, we are seeing some problems with our nodes as well, and we are currently investigating. Seems to be missing some attestations.
Nimbus, have y'all
Yeah,
seen any?
We're also missing some attestations.
Nimbus, have you seen any blocks or attestations included from your validators?
Well, it was mentioned earlier in the call that there were blocks proposed by Nimbus, but I'm currently investigating, basically doing random sampling of our validators, and the results doesn't look very good.
Okay, so it could be at least between some of the issues with Nimbus and Lodestar, that might account for a small percentage of what we're seeing. And if we fix those errors, might get us over the hump. Because Lodestar and Nimbus, the teams have both made 1,024 deposits, correct?
That's correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. So each
on our side, because everyone is encouraged to do some personal to manage some personal validators.
Yeah. Okay. So each team accounts for at least 5% of the validator stake, or in the range of 4 to 5% of those original 21,000 validators. So if we can get those online, that might get us where we need to be.
So while this investigation's ongoing, I can speak from an ETH 1.0 perspective to a certain extent in saying that there is active development for the ETH 1 to ETH 2, more or less, I guess you could call it a transition, and that's going very, very well. The ETH 1 devs are tuned into the progress, and we are going to potentially this year, we don't have an official date, so I can't speculate, launch the Berlin hard fork, at which point we're going to be including a precompile in as one of the changes that's going to help validate addresses, deposit addresses on ETH2 for the ETH 2.0 launch. So, or phase 1. I need to look back at my notes. But basically, ETH1 is going really well right now. We are still exploring some things in ETH1X like beam sync, and we'll continue to monitor the situation when it comes to ETH 2.0 development and do our best to have everyone have a successful transition from ETH1 to ETH2.
Thank you, Hudson. So let me zoom out again and give us the overview. We had 5 clients who set up beacon node invalidators to launch the Genesis block of Ethereum 2 phase 0 on the Medalla testnet. We launched the Genesis node, the Genesis block about 26 minutes ago. The thing we're looking at now is participation isn't showing up the way that we expected it to. And basically all that means are, for whatever reason, in between deposits being submitted, validators being set up, and validators proposing blocks, there's some kind of less than expected participation by all the validators. This is something that's likely to be resolved in time. And so, Danny, Vitalik, do either of you want to?
Yeah, so we're seeing, we believe we've identified some errors and issues with Nimbus and Lodestar. The client teams of Nimbus and Lodestar in aggregate are running at least 2048 validators, so in the range of approximately 10%. If we can resolve these issues, or if we cannot resolve these issues soon, we consider moving these keys over to a different validator type until the issues can be resolved. At which point, I believe with just the coordination of these two teams, we might be able to resolve the finality issues in the next handful of hours as we investigate. Something to point out, and this is like a little bit of a cop out, but the chain is working as intended. The chain is being built, the chain is being attested to, and the chain is alive, even though there's failures in liveness due of finality. This can happen in production. Ideally, it happens very rarely, if at all. But being able to work through these issues, being able to resolve errors, and being able to the chain to continue to be built and ultimately finalize itself is part of the protocol. So although things did not go or not going currently quite as planned, I do have faith that I think that we can resolve these issues in the next handful of hours and reach finality. So that's about all I have right now. Yeah.
I'd like to point out that you're correct. We had Genesis, we have a chain running, and resilience was built into the protocol, and the protocol is going to demonstrate that resilience. So rather than being less participation than we expected, we have an opportunity for the protocol to demonstrate what it was built to do, which is recover from low participation. So that's, from that perspective, it's definitely a success.
So what I'm going to do and what we're going to continue to do is to monitor, figure out what's going on, and figure out if we can get this percentage participation rate up in the next few hours. And from there, finalize this chain.
Great. All right. I would like to thank everyone. Let's go ahead.
Sorry, there is a comment in the chat that they found a proposer slashing, slot 138. So that should be interesting to see if it actually flows through and we get our first slashing on the network. Unfortunately, one of the people who's actually validating, and we'll lose them, so it won't do any help with the network. There's only one.
So Superfizz, for people who are wondering, how can I jump in here to help out? I want to participate either to get the percentage up or whatever else. Is the ETHStaker Discord the best place to go when it comes to getting your validator up? Maybe you went through the ETH2 launchpad and then you had some trouble actually getting the command line stuff working. Where can they go?
Yes, thank you. So yeah, I would say those people, the best place is going to be the ETHStaker Discord, because we can answer individual questions and give individual guides. If you've gone through Launchpad, or you've submitted a 32 girly ETH deposit and you're not running your validator right now, maybe it wasn't a big deal. It is a big deal to us now. So if you have those keys, it would be great if you could get them online. We'd love to help you do that. You can come to the ETHStaker Discord general room. You can come to reddit.com/r/ETHStaker. That right now is the best way for you to contribute to the big picture. With that, I think that we're going to conclude this call. We're going to be looking forward to lots of growth and lots of updates in the next few hours. Again, you can find information about that on reddit.com/r/ETHStaker. We'll be keeping updates and watching this throughout the next day and few weeks. So thank you to everyone. We'll leave this open for a minute or two for everyone to say their goodbyes. And I'd like to thank everyone in the community, everyone at YouTube, the implementers, the researchers, everyone for putting so much time and effort into developing a fantastic beacon chain product. What I don't want us to do, I don't want anyone to look at the current state of low participation and make any negative assumptions, because the client, the protocol is still strong and valid. We have low participation at the moment, but that is a very temporary bump.
Yeah, we'll get through this. We'll get through this.
Yeah.
Hey, so
Right.
please have a quick announcement.
Good that we're testing an edge case so early.
Yeah, and like I was saying, it's a demonstration of the protocol. It's not nothing. Well, I don't want to say nothing is
Right,
broken,
exactly.
because
Like if if a client is not working, plus 30% of people are lazy, like that's the sort of situation that the network's going to have to deal with anyway. Like we're not kind of assuming everyone, like these two kind of design rationale deliberately doesn't assume that everyone is hyper professional, because we want to be accessible and all of those things.
Thanks, Vitalik. Okay, Patricia, did you have a statement?
Yeah, the POAPs on the Discord, we will send them manually, and there's like 500 people, so please be patient, bear with us. It may take us a couple days for send them all, but eventually you will get them.
Cool. I'm going to debug. Talk to y'all soon.
Okay, great. Lots of work to do. Thanks, everybody. Have a wonderful day, and let's get this thing working. Bye.
Bye. Thanks, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thanks, guys.
Cool.